Welcome to Evilive, the live media commentary show that answers the question, how can you get the devil behind thee? Exactly. Subscribe if you're new to the channel because today I'm reviewing HBO's Game of Thrones House of the Dragon, episode 6 of season 1, The Princess and the Queen. Now this was directed by Miguel Sapochnik. It was written by Sarah Hess, this particular episode, and it premiered yesterday, September 25th, 2022. And we're jumping forward 10 years, a full decade, and we're changing out the cast. So the four major players are being replaced that were the younger version of the actors. So you have Rhaenyra, Allison, Laenor, and well, there's one more that I can't think of him right now. Anyway, there's four of them that were replaced with older actors in order to explain the time jump. But not everyone did. And this actually threw a lot of people off because they didn't really fully understand, well, why is this person the same when that person isn't? Especially when there's relationships. Like, you know, you had, what is his name? Not Corlys, Kristen Cole, who is the exact same actor, but Rhaenyra is a completely different actress who had sex with him. And, you know, he's sort of now all pissed off at her, you know, working with Queen Allison and sort of trying to expose the inhibitions and the sexual deviance that he, in fact, participated in when she was younger, a decade before. So anyway, we're brought in where Rhaenyra is actually giving birth to a child, and it ends up being her third child, which is a pretty big breakthrough here. Her husband, Sir Laenor, ends up naming it Joffrey, and for all of us in Game of Thrones who watched the original series, you're just holding your breath like, oh no, don't let that be a portent to Joffrey, because Joffrey was a horrible king when, you know, in the original series. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So we get this really great dynamic between Laenor and Rhaenyra, where they clearly have never really had sex. And if they have, nothing has ever come from it. Because the children don't look like him at all. In fact, they look like the High Guard. Oh, I'm trying to look at the notes here really quick. Sir Harwin. So not even, no blonde hair, no, nothing like that. It was really, really kind of crazy when you think about it, because ultimately what this means is the marriage is a sham and the Valyrian heirs are from a low-born city guard background, which is no bloodline for a king at all. Anyway, it was kind of interesting. So from that, the Queen Alicent is like, hey, I want to see the baby, bring the baby. And Rhaenyra is justly worried, because if her kids are going to be the rightful heirs and the queen who wants to usurp her power is asking for the babies, well, clearly she's going to try to kill it or something. Like, that's the fear that's in the back of Rhaenyra's lizard brain. And so she's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to go myself. So, like, she's standing up, getting ready. They're cutting the umbilical cord. She drops her afterbirth and then walks up there, meeting her husband, you know, at the base of the stairs. And they sort of walk up. And we get this really great back and forth between them. But we also get to see the determination and the inner resolve of Princess Rhaenyra. We already knew she was strong, and I've never had a baby. I was with my wife watching her give birth twice, and I cut the umbilical cord for both of our kids. And it's a horrible experience just to watch, let alone be involved in. And she's such a badass that she could just still truck right up the steps, go right into her room, and Kristen Cole's like guarding the door. And so there's always this little awkward, like, I don't even want to look at you type situation whenever the two of them are in the same space. They go in, and looking at Viserys, the king, and his genuine affection towards all of his grandchildren and his desire to have a happy family, it just crushes your heart because he literally looks like the Crypt Keeper at this point. He is on death's doorstep, a half a shuffle removed from death. I mean, this guy looks terrible. You know he is not long for this earth. And to see the joy that he has holding this baby, it just sort of lifts me up. It reminds me of when I was holding my kids for the very first time. It's a very beautiful, loving experience. And I felt that in the acting. I really appreciate it. But that does nothing because there's a little little jab from Queen Allison to Sir Laenor saying, you know, if you keep trying, maybe one will look like you. Saying, yeah, we all know you're gay and you guys aren't having sex, and she's clearly having sex with someone else. And we all know who it is, but no one's saying it. And so she tries to actually talk to the king about it. Like, look, she is making a mockery of this family. Like, she is having sex outside of wedlock and having the children from that union. And the king refuses to see it. Either he understands that and he doesn't want to acknowledge it, or he doesn't even see that as a possibility. And in either case, he's completely wrong, and it's going to be the very beginning of the real downfall of these two families and having the divisions between Queen Alicent and Princess Rhaenyra. And it's not really even the beginning of their descent, but seeing the heirs apparent, yeah, that's where the real problem is going to come. And then we get to see Alicent's oldest sons with Rhaenyra's younger sons. And they're like outside of the dragon den, I guess it's called. I can't remember. But like they're sort of, you know, a dragon is being brought out and Rhaenyra's son is trying to, I don't know, connect with it or bond with it initially. But then they sort of play a joke on which one? Alicent's younger son, which is Aemon's brother. Aegon's brother, his name is Aemond, and they said something about them, you know, bringing a pig down there. He goes down there and he sees one of the big dragons blowing fire, and he scares, you know, shits his pants. He's so terrified he like runs back up, and it's like this big joke, but it's not a big joke to Queen Alicent, who doesn't want them becoming friends. And what's so terrible about all of this is well, first of all, what's terrible is she walks in on her son beating off as he's standing in a window. So he's just letting it go into the wind. I feel terrible for anyone who might be underneath him at any point, because that's just disgusting. But then she busts in, and he like, you know, freaks out, jumps under covers like in mid orgasm, which is just really funny. I mean, gross, but really funny. And she's just straight up saying, look, they're going to come for the throne. He's like, yeah, but they are the rightful next king, and so let's just let him be the king. They're like, no, because, you know, they're gonna try to kill you if you vie for power. And he's like, okay, so I won't vie for power. And she's like, yes, you will. You are the heir apparent. You are the king's firstborn son. You are the next king, and you have to fight. So she is teaching him to hate his cousins, which is sad. It's just not right at all. But that's the Game of Thrones. That's what this is all about. So she's teaching hate, and Rhaenyra is trying to teach union, and Viserys wants nothing but union of the family. The next story beat we get is Prince Daemon and Lady Laena over in Essos, sort of just having an extended vacation. They got married in the last 10 years. They had their own 2 daughters. One of them is a dragon rider. The other one is not. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at names here. Lady Laena actually has Viserys, like I'm sorry, not Viserys, but Vagor, the dragon, like the oldest dragon, full stop, in not just Westeros, but all of the lands. Like, this was the original 3 dragons that came over with Aegon the Conqueror and his 2 queen sisters. It was one of them. It's the last one that's surviving of them, and it was known to have been just like loose, wandering around Essos somewhere. Well, apparently she found it, bonded with it, and became its rider. And it pays off a little bit later in some tragedy for both families in these different areas that we're focusing on right now. But they're over there. The king of Essos, or the prince of Pentos in Essos, is offering them a home and a lordship, ostensibly, saying, look, if you side with us, then we can stop the Tri-Cities, those 3 cities that are the Triarchy, that are breaching the Stepstones again, and they've actually made a deal with Dorne. And so now Dorne has an alliance with the Triarchy that Daemon had already, cleansed the Stepstones of the Triarchy, but then they abandoned the entire area and they came right back and made the alliance, and that's a genuine threat, not just to Essos, which it is, and Pentos specifically, but it's also a threat to the 7 kingdoms, because really it's only 6 kingdoms without Dorne. And Dorne doesn't come into the fold for another 50-ish years, I think, somewhere around there. So that it's kind of interesting because, they had an opportunity to solidify this area and garrison it and reinforce it, and they chose not to. And now we're seeing the price that cost them truly. Potential war. And, Daemon is just he's sort of floating in the breeze. He, as a character, he wants to find some semblance of significance. He wants to connect with his bloodline. He wants to be a king and a ruler. And if that means he has to move over here to Essos, maybe that's a possibility. But his wife does not want anything to do with it. And she's pregnant. So anyway, she actually goes into really difficult labor. And we see this sort of juxtaposition between when Viserys had to make the choice of having a cesarean for his wife, which killed her, and the baby died anyway. Prince Daemon's given the exact same opportunity. And before he can even choose, pregnant Lena runs out to Vagor and says, Dracarys, kill me. I want to die a dragon rider in a dragon rider's death. I do not want to die by having this maester cut me open and then just bleed out on the bed when the baby inside of me is already dead. There's no point in it at all. So there's this wonderful moment when you see Vagor and you see Lena. I'm sorry, it's Vhagar. I've been saying it wrong. Where Vagar's like, you can't mean Dracarys. I'm not gonna burn you to death. You're my rider. And she's pleading, begging, sweat and blood stained from the attempted birth, and she's just exhausted, and she doesn't want to be murdered by the damn maesters. And so she's just straight up please, just Dracarys. And it's just heart-wrenching knowing that she, as far as she's concerned, she's going to die tonight no matter what. She just wants to go out on her own terms. But then we see Daemon having already made fun of his brother's, his, is it cousin? No, it is brother. His brother's wife going through the exact same thing. He made a joke about it. And now he's staring down the barrel of the exact same situation going, I don't want her to be dead. That's terrible. I don't want to have my wife die, even though it's Daemon. And so he's kind of always thinking about options. You know what I mean? This one doesn't seem to even be on his radar. And ultimately, Vhagar accepts the command and burns her alive, and we're just sitting there with our mouths open going, oh my gosh. It actually fucking happened. Holy shit. Just devastating. And this is also echoed, because now we have Prince Daemon suffering a loss by fire. Rhaenyra is going to suffer a loss by fire as well in this episode, so we'll get to that here shortly. So, it comes out that, what is the damn name? Sir Harwin is watching Sir Criston Cole instruct the sons of Allison and Rhaenyra in how to just fight, combat training, basically. Just swords fighting techniques. And he's being very, very aggressive to Rhaenyra's sons and not as aggressive, and he's paying more attention to Allison's sons. For obvious reasons, Criston Cole doesn't like Rhaenyra anymore, and so, he's sort of extending his hatred of her to her own kids, which, again, as an adult, is a bitchy thing to do. Sir Criston Cole used to be awesome, and now he's a straight-up fucking bitch. And so he makes this snide comment about him, Sir Harwin, being the father of these two kids, which has been a rumor all throughout the kingdom and the court already. But to have it called straight out is a sort of a breach in protocol. But what Sir Criston Cole is doing is forcing Sir Harwin to admit it by getting upset and reacting to it. And he beats the crap out of him, just punching him left and right, just waylaying him with these haymakers. And Sir Criston Cole's not fighting back because he knows that the other Kingsguard there are going to pull him off, which they do. But now he knows. Now he knows 100%. Now that outburst cost Sir Harwin because Sir Harwin's father is the Hand of the King. And now the Hand of the King is like, you just brought down so much shame by proving this out in public. Now everyone's definitely going to think that you're their father, even though we all knew you already were. You know, at least before it was a suggestion, a rumor. Now it's proof positive because you reacted to it, you shit. And so he basically sends him back to Harrenhal. And so he comes over and he's like, look, he comes to the king and he tells the king, I have to resign as being your hand. I cannot do this. Sir Lionel Strong, he's like, I can't be the hand of the king when now I am no longer impartial. My son is being lambasted. His reputation and honor is being called into question, and that reflects on me. And Viserys is having none of it. He's like, look, you are the best hand I've ever had, and I don't care what your son did. He's already been stripped from the city guard. He's already being sent back to Harrenhal. You are staying here. And he's like, okay, well, at least let me go with him to Harrenhal to sort of, let everyone know that he's going to be the new lord here, ostensibly. And so he's allowed that. However, his other son, Harwin, is it Harwin? Allows a temporary return with Harwin. No. Oh, man, it's his other son. What the hell is his other? Larry's. Thank you. So Larry's is this sort of weaker son. He has this weird limp with his legs, or there's weakness in his legs or something, or some deformation in the bone structure or something. So he's always been he's been like the little finger of this series so far. He's whispering little secrets into Allison's ears. They're sharing rumors back and forth. And Allison just telling him that about, his father and his brother going back to Harrenhal because of this, and how, it's not a just end to the betrayal that Sir Harwin exercised by fathering the 3 Targaryen sons of Rhaenyra's. And Larry's Strong interprets that as, I'm going to have my brother and my father murdered so that I can have an in on Alicent. And he does just that. He goes to the prison. He gets convicted felons saying, look, I will spare your lives because you're all going to be hung. I will spare your lives if you let me cut out your tongue and you do this job for me so that they won't talk. And so they all have their tongue burned out, and they all go and literally burn Harrenhal down, killing Sir Harwin and, excuse me, Sir Lionel in Harrenhal. And Queen Alicent is just beside herself because she's trying to live honorably, knowing that this is how it works. I need to be a good queen so that my son, the king's first male heir, will then be the king with as little bloodshed as possible. But her interpretation was taken out of context intentionally, and now Larry's murdered these people on her behalf, and he's got her. She can't deny it because he's just going to let everyone know, and then there's going to be more rumor that she had them killed. And so she has to just stay quiet about it and accept it and be in the debt of Larry Strong without her real desire of being in that situation. Great move by Larry's. Shitty for Alicent. And so that death of the fire was the lover of Rhaenyra's. So now Daemon lost his wife by fire. Rhaenyra lost her basically baby daddy to fire. And they're Targaryens. They always wanted to hook up before already. I think we're going to see them hook up now because there's nothing stopping it. Yes, Rhaenyra still has her husband, but how long is that going to last? He's itching to go to war down at the steps with the rest of some men in his household. So, and Rhaenyra literally ordered him not to leave. And so I think, they're moving to Dragonstone just for protection, which is probably a bad move after all this rumor and now outright admission via action on Sir Harwin's part of being the real father to her sons. Now we really see the beginning of the Civil War happening, because now there's blood. It needs to be answered. And as soon as it is ousted that it was Allison who spurred the murder of the Strongs, there's going to be hell to pay. 100% hell to pay. However, that's not going to happen yet, because it's not going to be probably admitted for a little while. But I think we are going to see the return of Daemon, maybe to Dragonstone, with his two daughters. Oh, and who knows where he's going to honestly end up, because it's Daemon. He kind of does whatever he wants. But I can't wait to find out what happens next in this. It's getting so good. We have war brewing externally with the Triad and Dorne. We have war brewing internally between Allison's faction and Queen Rhaenyra, or Princess Rhaenyra's faction. And then we have the wild cards of what's King Viserys going to do? What's Prince Daemon going to do? How is all of this tumultuous actions going to affect the crown? The throne, the Iron Throne. Oh, it's so good. I just love this last episode. And it took me about a 2 count to buy into the actors, because the actors did such a good job with their roles. And again, because there was a huge time jump of 10 years, they replaced 4 of the actors. We had to get used to that. And reflecting back and looking at the actors, I was a little hesitant. I didn't like how they looked compared to their younger counterparts, but I bought it 100% right away. It's just they immersed themselves in the story so well that there was no doubt, not for a second in me, that these are the characters and these are the ways that they've grown, or in some cases devolved. And I'm loving it. I can't wait for the next episode. So if you guys haven't watched this yet, if you guys haven't sat down and started watching House of Dragons, you are missing out. House of the Dragon. It is so good. All right, so that's all I got for this review. I didn't even queue up my rating for Evil Eyes, but I'm going to give it a 5 Evil Eye rating, because it was devastating. It was beautiful. It just, you could feel the tension building and building and building, and it's going to come to a head at some point. When? Who fucking knows? But we know it's in the mail, and I can't wait till this shit just hits. It just goes crazy. It's going to be war inside, war outside. Everyone's dying. Everyone's suffering. And that's just good TV, man. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, evil spelled backwards is live. So get your asses out there and be a little evil.